Hey guys, it's Lua. Welcome to my March wrap-up. Alright, in case you don't know, I do a monthly TBR jar game on my channel. I will have it linked down below for my March one. But, I failed that TBR. But we're still going to talk about what I read and how I felt about it. Let's go over what I was supposed to read and their matching prompts. The first prompt was a book with flowers on the cover, and I had picked The Virgin Suicides by Jeffrey Eugenides. This one, we didn't make it, we didn't do it, we failed. But we tried. And that's what counts. Second prompt was continuous series. For this I picked Secrets in the Dark by Darcy Coates in the Black Winter series. It is the sequel to Voices in the Snow. This one I'm planning to finish by the end of March. For reference, this is being filmed on March 28th. So within the next 4 days-ish, I hope to read 400 pages. Wish me luck. So, I mean, in this wrap-up, I'm not really going to touch on this one because I haven't really read enough to give a good opinion on it. But so far I am liking it. I'm only like 50 pages in. And what I will say, these books are really fast-paced and fun. Third prompt was a mood read. And for that one, I picked the second book in Perengrine's Peculiar Children, that series. I picked Hollow City. It's the second book in that series. I did read this. We're gonna talk about it. Fourth prompt was almost an unhaul. That one I picked Ghostland, An American History of Haunted Places by Colin Dickey. I didn't read it, and you know, it's almost an unhaul for a reason because I didn't like this fucking book when I started it. I read part of it, made me angry. I felt false advertised because they gave me a spooky cover, and Colin Dickey tries to debunk all these ghost theories, and I hate him for that. Don't advertise with a cover like this if you're gonna be anti-ghost, because I believe in ghosts, asshole. It didn't happen for me this month, but maybe another time. And the last book, which I picked from A Little Cauldron, this has all my unread TBR in it. I picked Girl in Pieces by Kathleen Glasgow. I did complete it, and we will be talking about it. And there was another book that I did formally finish, which is a graphic novel that we will be talking about that was not a part of this TBR whatsoever. But that being said, let's jump into our thoughts, shall we? So the first book I read this month was Girl in Pieces by Kathleen Glasgow. I didn't hate it, I just didn't love it. This book follows our main character Charlie, who recently attempted to kill herself. At the beginning of the book, she is in a mental institution after her suicide attempt. And you kind of follow her in the institution. That's part one, and then afterwards you see when she gets out and you kind of follow her recovery. I actually love the concept of that. I really do. I typically love any book that's in a mental hospital. I usually love that shit. And that first part of the book I did love, but in part two, when Charlie leaves the mental hospital, it kind of went downhill for me. Some positives in this book, I will say, I felt the representation of mental illness, it was fair. I think it was pretty well done. I appreciate how this book was actually written by an author who has struggled with self-harm in the past, and I feel like that's why the representation of it in here, I felt like it was fair, and I think it's fair for me to say that as someone who does struggle with mental health and has struggled with self-harm in the past. There were a lot of moments in this book that I found really relatable or quotable, and I think that's why I did give it 3 out of 5 stars. For things like that, this could have been lower than that for me, honestly. Here's what I didn't like. I think the biggest turnoff for me was the fact that the romantic interest in this book is a 27-year-old man, and Charlie, the main character, is 17. She's 17 years old. I'm not gonna say that they portray this as a healthy, good relationship for Charlie. they don't. He is an asshole, and you could kind of tell that. At least being my age, I can. But the fact that this is a YA book, I just think it's kind of dangerous to be putting romances like that in a YA book. I think it's really easy for a young girl to read this and either romanticize or normalize the relationship between Charlie and this man. Especially when at the end of the book, this 27-year-old man who's dating a 17-year-old girl gets a bit of a redemption arc. That shit just, it didn't sit right with me. It didn't sit right with me. I could not make it right in my head, especially having been a 17-year-old girl with a 20-something-year-old man at one point, having been in an abusive relationship like that. It was just hard for me to get behind that. Like, I feel like this book had so much potential. I don't know why the author chose to take that path with it. Another issue I had with this book is the fact that the author, Kathleen Glasgow, chose to give Charlie so many issues that had led to her self-harming, such as an abusive parent, a parent that died, she was bullied, she was sexually assaulted, she was homeless, she had a best friend who attempted suicide and became brain dead. Like, just so many issues. Any single one of those issues would have been completely valid enough for Charlie to have self-harmed over. And even if she didn't have any of those things happen to her and just been struggling internally, like, it still would have been valid for Charlie to struggle with self-harm. And I just feel like maybe the author tried so hard to give her such a terrible life so nobody could say that she was too dramatic or whatever. I don't know. But regardless, in doing that, it was almost hard to like empathize and relate to the main character, Charlie, when none of these things had happened. You didn't really get very many details on any of them. And I feel like it's in the details that you really can relate to and empathize with the main character or any character. That's where my thoughts are with this book. It had some positives and it had some big fat negatives. I wish I loved this book as much as I wanted to. If you read this book, definitely just be weary. One, of the trigger warnings, and two, knowing that, you know, there's a relationship with a minor in this book that may not sit well with everybody. Next book I read was Hollow City. As I said, it's the second book in Miss Perengrine's Home for Peculiar Children series. I feel like most people do know what these books are about, but essentially our main character Jacob, his grandpa would always tell him these crazy outlandish tales and show him all these crazy pictures, and Jacob had just said, oh, you know, he's nutty, he's just, you know, messing with me. It's kind of portrayed like the grandpa has Alzheimer's and losing his mind. But then in the first book, his grandfather dies. From there, it becomes a bit of an adventure story because Jacob goes to find the people from his grandpa's outlandish tales and pictures, and he ends up finding this group of peculiar children that his grandpa had always told him about. As he gets mixed up into that world, there's people who are out to kill and or steal these peculiarities. They want to steal their powers, in a sense. It's just a big adventure story. It's so fun. There's never any dull moments in these books. They keep you going from start to finish, and they're filled up with a bunch of little pictures that are like creepy, and like I personally love the little aesthetic of them. I think they're really cool. It's a page turner. It keeps you going for sure. Overall, it's just really fun to read these books. But that being said, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I don't see them as necessarily perfect books per se, but at the same time I still rate them highly because I know that they are maybe intended for a younger audience. Some things I can look past. For one, there are, to me, it seems like a lot of plot conveniences in these books, and also just a lot of like unrealistic moments where, like, for example, there's this bird who is actually a human, and they are able to pop an ambulance tire with its beak. He just gives it a big tap and poof, tire pops. And in reality, that shit's not happening. Tires are tough. Tires, they're not meant to be popped by a little bird beak. I don't care if it's a peregrine. It's not popping. Another thing I kind of didn't love in this book, but at the same time I can understand, is there's a lot of characters in these books because you meet the children from this home. So in this home, there's gotta be at least 7 or 8, maybe more. That's not even including the main character. So just remembering all their peculiarities and their personalities could be a little challenging. And I just feel like the author gave some of them more character building than others. Some I just felt like were a little bit tossed to the side, like this is too many characters to deal with, we're gonna leave them here while these guys go on the adventure. Like he didn't want to deal with everybody. That's how it felt anyway. Also, the ending on this one, it was the kind of ending like you couldn't have ever predicted. Maybe you could have. I didn't. For me, it was one I could have never predicted. But I always like a good twist at the end. It was a good twist. It's just sometimes I want the clues to be there where I could put that twist together. Overall though, I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars because I did have a fun time with it. I probably realistically could give this 4 stars with all the complaints I just listed off, but I had so much fun reading it to do that, so that's that. The third book that I have actually completed for the month is a graphic novel. It's called I Hate Fairyland by Scotty Young. This book, like, there's not even really a ton for me to say. I just thought it was really fun, really cute, and really even like funny at times. I bought this book for my friend. It was her birthday, and she told me she likes books where it's a lot of escapism and, you know, the kind of book that just takes you to a whole different place. And that's what this book was. It was just a fun time. And me being a good friend, I had to read it before I gave it to her, naturally. And maybe if I didn't, I could have gotten more reading done on the books I was supposed to be reading. Oopsie. I don't have any real complaints about it. I thought it was cute for what it was. Do I see myself rushing out to buy the second or third book in the series? No. If I happen to stumble across it, maybe I would pick it up, but I'm definitely not going out of my way to get it. I guess simply because with graphic novels, since they read so quickly, I don't feel as connected to the characters as I do in a typical book. It's just me. I do enjoy them. I love looking at the art. The only one I really felt like attached to was Saga. I read most of the books of Saga. Oh shit, I just realized I didn't give a synopsis for I Hate Fairyland. I'm sorry. It's essentially just this little girl who gets sucked into Fairyland and has a quest to find a key that's hidden in Fairyland. And once she finds the key, she can go back home. But it's been like 30-something years and she's a grown woman now, stuck in a little girl's body. And she's still stuck in Fairyland, and she's very angry, and she is full of hate and murder in her heart. So it's just really cute and funny and just fun. It was a fun time. My goals for the next 4 days that I have left in this month is to finish Secrets in the Dark by Darcy Coates. If you don't know what this series is about, basically it follows our main character Claire. The world is in a bit of an uproar. It's an apocalyptic winter setting, and you know, she's trying to get to her sister's house for safety, and she ends up crashing her car, and she's convinced she's seeing creatures that are trying to kill her. The mystery of it all unravels, and it becomes a bit of like a survival story. Apocalyptic winter horror survival type energy. I love them. I gave the first book 5 out of 5 stars, and I expect to rate this one very highly as well. But beyond that, I can't really say my thoughts and feelings because I'm only 50 pages in. But I need you guys to believe in me that I will get this finished somehow. And the only other book I'm going to try to read before the month ends, which I know you guys are like rolling your eyes like, yeah bitch, okay, you know, you finish your whole other TBR, what are you gonna throw on now? But I'm throwing on this other graphic novel that I got from my friend, Moonstruck by Grace Ellis. Basically, I just want to give this one to her, but I want to read it again, like once again before I give it to her, because why would I not make it about myself when I get someone else a book, right? I just feel like as a friend, why not read the book before I give it to her so I could tell her if it's good or not, so if she should waste her time or not. Even though I bought it with the intention of her liking it as a birthday gift. This one, I'll just read the back because I don't know well enough to describe it. I know it's LGBTQ romance in it, and I just heard it's really cute and fun as well, which is what my goal was in the gifts that I wanted to give her. Here's what it says. Monsters, romance, and magical hijinks. Oh my. In the little college town of Lithton, fantasy creatures live cozy, normal lives right alongside humans, and werewolf barista Julie strives to be the most normal of all. But all heck breaks loose when she and her new girlfriend Selena go on a disastrous first date that ends with a magician casting a horrible spell on their friend Chet. Now it's up to the team of mythical pals to stop the illicit illusionist before it's too late. That sounds fun. I don't know. That's gonna take me like 30 minutes to read. It's this bitch we need to be worried about, because I actually just filmed my April TBR and there's no room to try to be squeezing this into April too. It's just not happening. So that's why it needs to be done within the next 4 days, and I'm applying pressure myself, and it's gonna get done, maybe. But yeah, that's really all I have to say. That's everything I read in March. Let me hold up my little stack, because why would I not? This is everything, plus I Hate Fairyland on me, but this is everything I hope and plan to be reading. We're gonna finish this bitch and this bitch, but these two are done. That's all I have. I love you guys very much. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. Feel free to reach out to me. I would love to meet some people. Hope you guys had a great reading month as well. See you.